Be Babysit for free 5 days a week. When I missed one day, my DIL texted, "Find someone else." So I did, for my will. I woke up before dawn, coughing into the dark. My old bones protested when I swung my legs over the side of the bed, sheets cold against my skin. I pulled on the faded cardigan, one I had knit myself many winters ago, buttoned it over the thin sweater inside, slipped on my glasses that always sit a little crooked, and dragged myself to the mirror. My chest felt tight. I paused for a moment, remembering the note from Dr. Nguyen. Mild pneumonia. Stay out of close contact with little ones, she said. Avoid exposing them. Hazel, she wrote, you must rest. I tucked the paper into my shawl pocket. My heart clenched. Celine was waiting. I held the phone in trembling hand, stared at the screen where Tracy's name glowed. I typed, "Not feeling well today. Doctor says pneumonia. I will have to rest. Can you find someone else for Celine?" I pressed send, breathing shallow. I didn't expect what came next. The reply came fast, cold. "Find someone else. I am tired of this." No apology, no hope you get well. Just those words, sharp as a knife. My breath stopped. I stared at the screen, the cardigan heavy on my shoulders. The room was quiet except for the hum of the heater. My chest tight, coughing stuttered in my throat. And then I saw it. Tracy forwarded the message, same words, to the family group chat. "Hazel is out today. Anyone who wants to watch Celine for pay, contact me." The message had emojis, a laughing one. I felt something twist sick inside. Humiliation, betrayal, anger. A neighbor's screenshot it. Within minutes, it circulated among those women who always meet at the church basement and at the weekly bake sale. Some posted, "Do you believe she asked for pay?" Others, "Tough love for mom-in-law who complains about everything." I could feel eyes on me, though I stayed inside my small kitchen with steam on the window. Later that morning, Rosie knocked at my door. Rosie, old friend. Rosie, who I helped once when she was lost and alone. She came with her phone in hand. Her voice shook. She said, "Hazel, look." She showed me screenshot after screenshot. One where Tracy's message sat under family chat, under names I recognized. So many names. One where someone typed, "About time someone said it." Another, "Free childcare is limited these days. Maybe she wants compensation." The more I looked, the dimmer I felt. I stepped to the window. I saw Celine in her yard, tight curls whipping in the wind, tiny hands clutching the gate. She looked inside toward the house. No grandma waving, no welcome. Her face dropped. I saw her lips pressed together. My throat burned. I wanted to hold her, to tell her I love her, to tell her I never meant to miss a single day. But today I must. That night I could not sleep. The cough kept me awake, each breath shallow, each heartbeat loud. I lay in the dark thinking of all the mornings I rose early to cook Celine pancakes, of the afternoons I sat teaching her letters, tying her shoes, sewing her doll clothes, letting her climb into my lap and whisper secrets. All that love, every single day, counted, and none of it was seen now, not by Tracy, not by many others. I called my lawyer, Miss Carter, from the landline phone. My hands shook as I dialed, the receiver heavy. "It is time," I said when she answered. "Time to fix what was wrong. I need to change my will." I heard calm on her end, understanding. "Of course," she said. "Tell me everything." I hung up the phone, pressed my hand to my chest, felt the weight of truth settle in my bones. I did not cry, not yet, but in that silence I made a promise. I will not be erased. If you feel justice deserves celebration, smash that hype button. Let us keep stories like this alive, echoing far, far away. Your support helps us bring understanding and love to those who deserve it. Thank you so much. Keep listening. I lay awake after the call, holding the cardigan close, listening to the wind tapping against window panes. Outside, the night moved on. Somewhere distant, children laughed. Somewhere, a mother tucked in her child. I thought of Celine, and the ache where I once believed home was my presence in her life. I looked across the room at the old rocking chair, where I used to rock Celine to sleep. It was empty. The quilt I made for her lay folded on the armrest. I remembered the softness of her head, the way she called me Grandma, like it meant the whole world. I closed my eyes and let the memory wash over me, both beautiful and painful. In the black quiet, I began to list the proof I would need. The doctor's note, the screenshots, Rosie's video, the voicemail. I counted in my mind the days I had never missed in 2 years. I knew with that list, I could show the truth. The dawn came slow. When first light broke through tattered curtains, I rose. I dressed carefully, the cardigan, the glasses, though old. I walked to the front yard, looked down the road Celine walks from school. I waited, breathing the cold air. I did not know if Celine would pass today. I did not know if people would see me now. But I knew I had begun to take back my story. I was born in a house with no running water, with walls made of scrap tin and faith. We were 7 children, 1 sick mother, and a father who left before I turned 10. I never finished high school. I dropped out to care for my younger siblings, feeding them rice with salt, washing clothes in cold basins, helping Mama breathe through her fever. I was the oldest girl. That made me the second mother by default. When I moved to America, I was already 27. My accent came with me like my shadow. No matter how hard I practiced, I always sounded like home. I'd watch the way Americans moved their mouths, how they skipped certain letters, how they flattened vowels. But my tongue always betrayed me, and some people thought that meant I was less. Tracy was polite at first. When my son married her, I thought she was ambitious, well-mannered, very polished. But after Celine was born, the cracks showed. She never said it outright, not in the beginning, but there were hints. "Hazel, could you speak a little clearer when reading to Celine? She's picking up words with your accent." I remember pausing mid-story, my mouth halfway through The Very Hungry Caterpillar, feeling like I had swallowed a stone. Later she said, "Maybe don't cook the garlic chicken on Saturdays. It lingers. You know, we have guests sometimes and it's just strong. What she meant was that my cooking smelled like the country I came from. My hands, seasoned with cumin and coriander, with oregano and chili flakes, were apparently too loud for her curated kitchen. I remember the time Celine came running to me, excited about a scarf I had knit for her. Pale pink, soft yarn, a tiny embroidered E at the corner. I had spent weeks knitting it, humming the lullabies my mother sang. Celine wore it proudly that morning, spinning in the hallway like a princess. By evening, the scarf was gone. I found it stuffed in the bottom drawer of the laundry room cabinet, neatly folded, unworn. When I asked Tracy, she smiled and said, "Oh, it didn't really match her coat. I didn't want her to get too attached. You know how kids are." I said nothing, but I remembered the way Celine looked at me when she noticed it missing, confused, quiet. Every piece of love I offered was intercepted, redirected, erased. She once told her friend, thinking I couldn't hear, "She means well, but she's just not like my mom. My mom's elegant. Hazel's more homey. Homey. The way people say a sofa is homey, or a rug, something warm but not beautiful. I wore what I had. My dresses were clean, patched in places, and I never wore makeup. Tracy's mother, on the other hand, came to every event in heels and pearls, hair like a magazine. I once heard Tracy tell a neighbor, "My mom's from Boston, Hazel's from, well, somewhere else." They all laughed, but I remembered what stung most wasn't the criticism, it was the forgetting, the rewriting. As if my story didn't matter, only my usefulness did. I had been a tutor once, back in our first years here. I helped immigrant kids pass their ESL classes. Rosie was one of them. She came to me, scared, quiet, broken by a world that didn't see her. I sat with her every afternoon. I helped her finish her GED. She calls me her angel. But Tracy never asked about that part of my life. She only saw the woman in worn shoes with a thick accent who smelled like soup and cardamom. Every holiday, I brought handmade things. A little embroidered dress for Celine, a toy made from soft cloth, or my tamales wrapped in banana leaves. Tracy always placed them far from the center. Once she even whispered, "Just don't bring too much this year. We're going for a more modern theme." Modern. Apparently tradition was now cluttered. When Celine had her kindergarten open house, Tracy didn't tell me about it. I found out from a neighbor who had seen the pictures online. I asked, and Tracy said it was just for parents, really. You wouldn't have enjoyed it, too noisy. Too noisy? I'd been to war zones quieter than that woman's condescension. I smiled, always smiled, because I thought that was what love looked like in silence. But silence is what people wrap around you when they want you to disappear. And I never asked for credit. I never asked for money. I only wanted to be seen. When Celine was born, I gave up my job at the library to help. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I took care of her while Tracy chased promotions. I cooked, bathed, cleaned, taught, comforted. When Celine was teething, I stayed up all night with her. When she had nightmares, she cried for me, not her mother. But none of that counted. It didn't matter because my English wasn't polished, because my food was too much, because I wore cardigans and flat shoes, because I wasn't shiny enough to show off. Tracy used to say to her Instagram followers, "We're raising Celine with strong, independent women around her," but she never posted a photo of me, not one. The deeper I look, the more I see a pattern, a slow, deliberate erasure, a rewriting of Celine's story, one where I am the background furniture, not the grandmother who gave up everything to raise her. And the worst part? Tracy says I'm emotional, that I make things bigger than they are. But everything I've felt alone, because Tracy made it that way. And now she tells the world I am unreliable because I missed one day, because I got sick. She can pretend all she wants. She can act like this was just miscommunication or stress or a generational difference, but I know what it was. It was choice. She chose to humiliate me, to make me small, to make sure no one remembered what I gave. But I will not be erased. Not anymore. I woke up before sunrise again. My chest is still tight, each breath a small struggle. I wrapped my old shawl around my shoulders and dialed Miss Carter's number on the landline. The phone rang twice, then her calm voice. "Hazel? How are you?" I swallowed, told her everything, about pneumonia, about missing Celine, about Tracy's message and group chat, and about how I felt erased. I asked carefully, "Can I change my will so that what happened today means something, so that someone sees the truth?" She said yes. She explained what I needed: medical proof, time-stamped messages, video or voice recordings, and 2 reliable witnesses. I nodded even though she could not see me. Rosie brought me what I needed. One evening she handed me a small envelope, a photo of me carrying Celine's backpack, another of me baking tamales in my kitchen, flour on my elbows, Celine smiling at the counter. Another video, shaky but clear, of me driving Celine from school in the rain. Rosie's phone caught Tracy's voice too, walking just outside the wooden door, saying, "I am tired of this, find someone else." Confident she was unheard, Rosie recorded the voicemail she received after hearing that same phrase. Rosie trembled when she handed it over. I hugged her. She said, "You deserve better." At home, I kept the doctor's note. It showed the date and diagnosis, mild pneumonia. I kept every empty bottle, every prescription slip. I collected receipts for cough syrup, for tissues, for meals I ate cold because I could not cook well. I saved every screenshot of Tracy's messages, the find someone else, the group chat forwards, the laughing emojis. I saved messages where neighbors expressed dismay that Hazel had been spoken of so lightly. One evening, candlelight flickering, I wrote a new version of the will. I wrote in fine print, conditions. If Tracy fails to acknowledge in writing or video that she was wrong, if she does not issue a public apology, if she ever treats me disrespectfully again, then all inheritance shall pass to Rosie. Or, if Celine is old enough, 25, then to her entirely. I named Miss Carter to execute this new will. I tested phrases, reread clauses, asked Miss Carter, "Is this enforceable?" She said yes. It is clear, legal, fair. I kept all this secret. I did not tell Tracy. I did not show Rosie every draft. I locked the envelope in my dresser drawer. Some nights I could not sleep, turning restlessly, imagining Tracy seeing the screenshots and deleting them, or Rosie's phone lost. I rose at first light to review the evidence, organize the photos, label the files. The cough still bothers me, but urgency keeps me awake. By the time I had enough to feel safe, I looked in the mirror and saw a different Hazel, not the one whose voice shook from shame, but one whose voice trembled with resolve. The kitchen smelled of tamales and medicine. The laptop glowed with photos of love and betrayal. I closed the draft under the lamp, held it to my chest, and whispered, "If you ever thought I did nothing, you were wrong." I did not expect peace when Rosie pressed post. I thought maybe whispers. I did not expect a roar. Rosie uploaded screenshots and the video to a Facebook group called Neighbors Support Hazel. The first post showed the group chat, Tracy's message forwarding, "Find someone else," with laughing emojis and small comments. The second post was Rosie's voicemail, where Tracy said she was tired of me. The third was the photo of the scarf, the handmade embroidered scarf I made for Celine, unused, tucked away. Within hours, my phone buzzed until my fingers hurt. Messages from people I had known all my life. "I am so sorry, Hazel. That was cruel. Does she realize how much she's lost in dignity?" Then other messages. "All for attention. She just wants sympathy." I paused on one comment. No proof it's really her. Maybe someone messed with her phone. Fear flickered. But then another came. "If that is your grandmother in the screenshots, I saw it too, and I believe you." A local reporter reached out and asked to come speak with me. I said yes. I was sitting outside on my little porch swing when the reporter arrived, carrying a small notebook and a recorder. I did not wear perfume. I was wearing the cardigan with the patched elbow, slacks that had seen too many washings. I didn't hope to impress. I only hoped to be seen. She asked gently, "Hazel, why do this? Why share your heart with strangers?" I held her recorder with shaking hands. I said, "I just want fairness. I want to be loved like I loved. I want Celine to know her grandma didn't give up. I want people to know love is not silence." For years, I believed humble love meant staying quiet. I believed meaning would be seen behind closed doors. But the world outside needs to hear the truth. My silence cost me respect, cost me identity. I refuse to let them pretend I have none. The article came out the next day in the local paper. Headline: Grandma Hazel speaks. Mother-in-law claims ignored. Inside, quotes from Tracy's group chat, quotes from Rosie, quotes from neighbors. One said, "I see Hazel every morning collecting leaves, baking, walking." Other, "She raised that little girl more than some parents ever do." People began choosing sides. Social media was divided. Some posted, "Protect Hazel, she deserves respect." Others, "Let's see evidence, she's playing the victim." I read both sides, felt the sting of both. But the side with compassion kept swelling. Tags like "Justice for Hazel" began appearing. Friend requests, messages of support from strangers I did not expect. One neighbor brought me homemade cookies. Another left flowers at my gate. Tracy reacted. She posted a denial on her page. "This has been blown out of proportion. Hazel is making statements for sympathy. I love my mother-in-law, and I regret that people are misunderstanding a family matter." She asked Rosie to take screenshots down and threatened legal action over privacy invasion. Then, late at night, she sent texts to my phone. "Don't drag this public. We are family. I will fix this." I ignored. I could feel old fears inching back, gossip, judgment, shame. But now there was resolve. I walked through my house and saw the scarf hanging. Rosie had taken it out, displayed it in her living room photo. Someone had shared that photo. "Look at what she made. Look what I saw," said the caption in blue type below a picture of Celine wearing it. Tracy tried deleting messages. She tried blaming misunderstanding. She tried asks neighbors to lie for her. Mrs. Hazel overreacted. Some did, but many refused. One neighbor posted his own screenshot. "I saw it. I believe Hazel." I rose earlier than usual the next morning. Light through the window, birds chirping. I carried my evidence folder to Ms. Carter's office. I sat in her waiting room, heart pounding. Rosie came too. She squeezed my hand. Ms. Carter smiled, understanding in her eyes. We talked about strategy. Ms. Carter said the public support was strong, evidence in favor of credibility. Photographs, the scarf showing Celine wearing my handiwork. Voices from neighborhood cameras, all valid. Ms. Carter said that people are the mirror. They reflect what's been hidden. That night I went to bed tired, yet strangely lighter. I did not need the world to pronounce me right. I only needed that, when I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who stood up. In that burst of light from the Facebook group, from neighbors, from the local paper, I saw myself. Not hidden, not erased. And that, at that moment, was enough. The courthouse door was heavy when I arrived, the marble steps cold under my shoes. I held the envelope with my revised will tight in my purse, Rosie beside me, Celine's hand small and warm in mine. The sunlight caught the stained glass and turned the lobby into long rainbow stripes. I took a deep breath. Today was the day I would no longer hide in my own silence. Miss Carter had filed the amended will several weeks ago. The judge's clerk had confirmed the hearing date. I sat in the back row in a simple dress, my cardigan over it, my hands folded in my lap. Tracy sat across the courtroom, her lawyer perched beside her, lips tight, eyes sharp. The gallery was full of familiar faces, neighbors, women who had sent words of support, Rosie, and a few reporters waiting to take notes. Tracy's lawyer stood first. He spoke politely, but his aim was clear. "Your Honor," he began, "there are concerns about Mrs. Hazel's mental clarity. My client argues that this amended will was made under duress, that Mrs. Hazel's health incidents, including pneumonia, may have impaired her judgment. We move to question the validity of this will on grounds of competence." My heart was hammered. I stood when my turn came. I spoke calmly. "Your Honor," I said, voice steady though my throat felt tight, "I remember. Every day I sacrificed for Celine. I remember every moment I stayed up with her, every lesson, every smile. I was aware when I wrote the amendments. I have proof, and I trust the truth more than silence." Then Rosie and several neighbors were called. Rosie showed the video, me driving Celine in the rain, baking, carrying groceries, cooking in the kitchen, smiling at Celine. She showed Tracy's voice saying, "Find someone else. I am tired of this." The neighbors testified. One recalled seeing Tracy walk past me in the yard without greeting. Another remembered Tracy removing the embroidered scarf from Celine's coat, folding it away. Then came the hospital note. The diagnosis of pneumonia with correct date, prescription slips, receipts, all lined up on the table in front of the judge. The sound of tearful sobs from some in the gallery. I saw Celine clutch Ms. Carter's hand. Finally, Celine was called to the stand, my little Celine, who had learned to hold her feelings so quietly. She walked forward, legs shaking just a little. She looked at the judge with young seriousness. She spoke. "I always believed Grandma was just tired when she stayed home. I thought she might have forgotten things, but I never knew she felt pushed away. When other kids have grandparents come to school, I wondered why mine is never there, and when Grandma didn't come on that day, I felt scared." Her voice quavered. She paused. "I missed her." I sat there listening, feeling every word like a wind pushing me upright. I saw Tracy's face go pale. Silence filled the courtroom after Celine's words, an echo of what has been quiet too long. Then the judge addressed Tracy directly. "Miss Tracy, does the amended will's condition require you to issue a public apology to Mrs. Hazel as a part of your obligations?" Tracy's lawyer stood, stammered, "Yes, Your Honor. However—" Tracy watched the judge closely. Tracy's eyes flicked toward me and Celine. But she did not speak. She did not issue the apology that the will required in the group chat, in message, in writing. The courtroom held its breath. The judge nodded slowly. The evidence had piled up: medical proof, neighbor witnesses, Celine's testimony, voicemail, screenshots, video. The judge turned to me. I rose, heart pounding, chest full of cold, certain of something I had only dared to hope. "Hazel Monroe," the judge said, "after reviewing all documents and testimony, this court finds the amended will valid. The conditions laid out therein are enforceable. As per Mrs. Hazel's request, any person who fails the obligations, public apology, respect, not abandoning care, shall lose any claim to inheritance. The will shall pass, as written. Miss Tracy is hereby stripped of her rights to inherit under the previous will." Gasps, a few tears. Celine cried softly. Rosie squeezed my hand. I looked at Celine and I saw hope. Tracy's lips trembled. Her face showed the weight of truth she could no longer deny. I saw in her eyes that she knew she had lost more than money. She lost respect. She lost legacy. She lost the choice of whether she would be seen. The judge continued. "In addition, Ms. Tracy is ordered to issue a public apology, posting in the group chat, social media page, and in the local paper. All screenshots and messages must be acknowledged. Any future acts of belittling Mrs. Hazel will be considered violation of this judgment." I sighed. Relief came in waves. I looked at Celine. She smiled. For the first time in many years, I saw her without question in her eyes. I saw that she knew I was more than what I had been treated as. After court, as we walked out, Rosie held my arm. Celine hugged me tight. I could feel the press behind us, flashes of cameras, voices of neighbors saying, "You did it." But what meant more was Celine's small voice, "Thank you, Grandma." Standing at the courthouse steps, sunlight on my face, I felt something I had not felt for years. Not anger, not sorrow, but a sense of strength, a sense of justice, a sense that being forgotten does not mean being without power. That day, I changed what people thought they owned, my silence, my dignity, my story, and I took it back. The court came to its verdict in a packed room, voices hushed, hearts pounding. The judge leaned forward, pen in hand, eyes firm. "This court finds that the amended will of Hazel Monroe is valid and enforceable under the conditions laid down." I sat very still. Ms. Tracy loses all rights of inheritance previously hoped for. Ms. Rosie is named primary beneficiary, and Celine will receive full entitlement when she reaches 25, as specified. A faint gasp rose in the gallery. I saw Rosie squeeze Celine's hand. Tracy blinked, face pale, jaw tight. The judge turned. "Furthermore, Ms. Tracy is ordered to issue a public apology in the family group chat, on her social media page, and via a published statement in the local paper. All prior messages, screenshots, and images must be acknowledged. Failure to comply will result in further legal penalties." The room crackled with tension. Phones snapped photos. I stood, knees weak, but hold myself upright. Rosie's eyes filled with tears. Celine hugged my leg. In that moment I felt a wave of relief, of justice closing in. The repercussions for Tracy unfolded fast. Within hours, news outlets caught the story. A local radio station called her to ask for comment. Silence, then a stammered apology. Her job, which depended on her public image, speaking at schools, community events, client engagements, began to feel unstable. Some canceled. Emails asking about professional ethics circulated. People she trusted quietly distanced themselves. Her business partners asked to be released from agreements. The logo she built, the persona she curated, it all felt hollow now. Friends and family reacted. Some had stood by her. Others quietly stepped away. At potlucks, at church meetings, people avoided her. Neighbors I once smiled to crossed the street. Some said, "Justice finally spoke." Others whispered, "She paid the price for pride." I heard children at the park ask, "Is that the lady from the news?" Celine looked at Tracy, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with sadness, but always with strength growing in her small frame. Tracy's losses were not only material. She lost reputation, dignity, trust. She had believed that being wealthy, well-dressed, polished, that being in control was enough. But control without kindness, power without recognition of sacrifice, became her undoing. The family history turned against her. I walked out of the courtroom into the sunlight, Rosie beside me, Celine beside me, support ringing in our ears. I felt the warm glow of forgiveness, not for Tracy, not yet, but for myself. My story had been reclaimed. That night, when the world quieted, I sat with Celine in my kitchen under the low light, the scarf I made for her draped over the chair. Celine said softly, "Grandma, I'm proud of you." Her voice was small, but it carried the weight of every hidden day, every invisible kindness. I closed my eyes, allowed myself to feel the fullness of this moment. I did not smile broadly, not because I would not, but because some victories are held in the heart. I had won more than a court case. I had taken back my worth. After the courtroom decision, Rosie came to me with tears and said, "Let's do what you always wanted." We found a small building on Maple Street, on a quiet corner. Old brick, windows dusty. We painted it soft yellow. Rosie hung a wooden sign above the door. Hazel's Haven Childcare and Community Center. I could barely speak when I saw it. The name made me tremble. On opening day, the doors opened wide at 9 a.m. Neighbors, friends, people from the group who had shared support. They lined up outside with flowers, home-baked goods, bags of toys. Celine stood by my side, holding a big red ribbon. She wore the scarf I had knit for her years ago. It was faded, the E monogram barely visible, but she wore it like a banner. She smiled up at me, and her eyes were bright with hope. We cut the ribbon together. Rosie, Celine, me. A plaque on the wall read, "In honor of Hazel Monroe, for those who were unseen, now they are home." I tried to stand tall, even though my breath came with a wheeze. Children waddled in, old women walked up, immigrants with heavy accents, mothers who worked 2 jobs, people who once felt invisible. Celine helped me that day. She passed out juice boxes to little ones, wiped smudges off tables, tucked dolls in toy cradles. She introduced me to guests. "This is my Grandma Hazel." And they looked at me like they wanted to believe it, like they had just learned who I really am. Local journalists came. One reporter asked me, "What do you feel, Hazel?" I looked out over the room, laughter, soft chatter, little feet on rugs. I told her, "I feel seen. I feel like what I did mattered, that love given without praise still builds a home." The article ran next day. Headline, "Grandma wins back her home, her dignity, her will." It had a photo of Celine hugging me in front of the sign, Rosie smiling, children holding balloons. A benefactor, someone who had read the story in the paper, donated 10 laptops for the center. Another donated a small library of children's books, stories from many cultures. We set up a reading corner with cushions, rugs, soft light. Children sat cross-legged, listening to stories in English, Spanish, Vietnamese. Old people came in too, immigrants who missed reading in their mother tongue, who missed stories of home. Tracy's name came up sometimes. People asked. Celine would say, "She was my mom, but she didn't see Grandma." I didn't say much. I let Hazel's Haven become the answer, my legacy. The center did more than childcare. Classes, English for elders, quilting, storytelling afternoons. On Thursdays I taught a small craft class, knitting, the one skill I carried with me from El Salvador. I watched as someone unfamiliar with yarn's meaning learned loop after loop, as someone's hands, stiff with age, warmed with purpose. I laughed when someone asked what pull through meant, and I showed them. That laughter, simple, full, felt like justice. Media coverage continued. Interviews, social media threads. People posted before and after stories. I once thought her quiet meant she accepted being unseen. Now I see she refused. A local pastor said from the pulpit, "There is no greater praise than when community lifts up the humble." I heard others whisper, "She never asked to be hero, but lived like one." I found letters at the center, thank you notes from immigrants who said Hazel's Haven made them feel safe, from children who said they felt loved, from parents who said their children were happier, more confident. One note from a woman named Lena said, "You taught my daughter. She can hold 2 languages with pride. Thank you for letting her not choose one." Another from Mr. Brooks, a retired teacher. "You have given dignity to age." Even Tracy's friends reached out quietly. "I'm sorry I didn't see. I was wrong. I want to help." I did not respond to all. Some I nodded. Some I simply let go. I did not want every apology. I just wanted truth. At dusk, I sat on a bench outside Hazel's Haven. Celine climbed into my lap. She looked up at me and said, "Grandma, you changed everything." Her voice small but certain. I held her hair away from her face. "We changed it together," I said. The lights inside glowed through windows. I saw someone reading in the corner, someone sewing, someone telling a story. Music from different lands drifted. The smell of coriander, of fresh bread, of rain on pavement. The world felt large, kind, finally home. In that moment I understood that restoration is not about reclaiming what was taken. It is about giving what was always yours. I may have lived many years in shadow, but now I stand in the light. They will remember me, not as the grandmother who stayed silent, but as the grandmother who stood up. Celine squeezed my hand, Rosie smiled, the community clapped softly. My heart, long weary, felt full. That night, after the children left, I walked through the center, naming every corner, the reading nook, the kitchen, the learning room. I paused by the plaque. I traced the letters, Hazel Monroe. Tears came, but I did not let them fall. I raised my eyes to the sky, breathed. I did this, and I believed. I sit on the porch swing, the wooden boards beneath me rough but familiar, as the sun gently lowers behind Hazel's haven. Through the large front windows, I watch children inside, tiny voices like wind chimes in summer, laughter floating out. Celine's running to me, small shoes tapping across the garden path, her curls bouncing. She throws her arms around me and I hold her tight, breathing in her warmth. "Grandma," she says, voice earnest, "I will not let anyone forget you." Her eyes, wide, honest, hold a promise I never dared ask for, but always hoped would come. I stroke her hair softly. In that moment, I feel years of silence melt away. We go inside. I take a worn book off a shelf, the stories my mother used to read in El Salvador, and I sit with Celine on a cushioned bench. I begin to teach her our native tongue, the one that breaks and mends hearts. She listens, repeats the words, laughs at my accent, imitates me. She asks questions about long-ago times. When I cooked for her, when I walked her to school, when she asked, "Grandma, why didn't you come in last night?" I tell her those stories, sweet and bitter, because every piece of memory matters. Later, I take a letter I wrote in my quiet hours, my handwriting shaky in places, steady in others. I read aloud. "I was not born in applause, but I refuse to die in silence." My voice echoes in the small hallway, bookshelves behind me, handmade crafts around, children's shoes by the door. The weight of years lifts slightly. Outside, the sun's last light spills orange and gold across the sky. Through the windows of the center, I see children cleaning up toys, elders folding chairs, Celine helping a toddler with blocks. Rosie walks by, smiling. They do not need to look for me now. I am already there, fully there. I stand, reach out, open the front door. The evening air brushes my face. Shadows lengthen beneath maple trees. I watch the light pass through the front window, warm, glowing, my face reflected in the glass, and behind it the heart of many lives, those I've held, those who have held me. Celine tugs my hand. She giggles at something she sees, a little child holding a book, reading aloud, unafraid. I smile. My ribs ache from old days, my voice may tremble, but it carries. I think of all the times I believed I had no place, all the meals cooked unpraised, all the scarves woven unseen, all the words spoken softly in kitchens so they would not disturb. And here, in this twilight, I realize being seen does not require applause. It requires heart. It requires standing. "Grandma," Celine whispers, "you saved us." I look into her eyes, and I see recognition, not just from her, but from many. From neighbors who once passed, without a word, from mothers who once judged, from strangers who now nod when they see me. I close the door behind me. I sit in a wooden chair by the window of the center. Light is fading. A child's laughter drifts. A mother's soft whisper of comfort. I rest my hand on the embroidered scarf I made for Celine long ago. It is worn now, threads slightly loose, but intact. I breathe in the scent of wood, paper, and kindness. I allow a small tear, but I do not let it fall. I allow a small smile, and I let it stay. Because I have been quiet long enough. Because I have been seen tonight. Because silence was never my home. I am Hazel Monroe, and I will not be erased. And that was Hazel's story. A grandmother who gave, who endured, who chose not revenge, but remembrance. If this story moved you, if Hazel reminded you of someone strong and silent in your own life, take a moment now. Tap that subscribe button to follow Grandma True Stories. Hit the hype to honor all the quiet fighters like Hazel. Share her story, because silence is only powerful when it ends. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let's keep voices like Hazel's alive.